Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
That's right. We are taking your calls. It's Becky Brown. I am a licensed clinical counselor. I was trying to think of all the letters that go with my license, but I'm here with Dr. Alice Benton, who is a psychologist, author, speaker, mother extraordinaire, as well as Stacey Sadler-Smith, who is also a licensed clinical counselor and chief clinical officer at the practice that she works at. She's also an author and speaker at our Restore Intensive. Listen, we can answer your questions, so you can give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We've got some calls on hold, and we're going to get to them. But first, I want to hear what's on Alice's mind.
Well, Becky, Stacey, I have been mulling over the Bible verse where we're warned not to compare ourselves to others. And that's a tough one for me. I default into self-comparison, especially about achievement. But when comparison with others is focused on appearance, it can get us into so much trouble very quickly, even trouble that becomes fatal. So I'm going to pair that verse that we're not to compare ourselves with others with another one that warns us against getting into elaborate hairstyles, getting too caught up in appearance, jewelry, the kind of clothes we're wearing. That comes from 1 Timothy. And it's interesting that the Bible warns us against that, because when appearance becomes an idol, it's a taskmaster, and it can send us into obsessive pursuit of what is truly unachievable. And what research is showing us is that over the past about 10 to 20 years, when we had the combination of on our cell phones of a front-facing camera, which made it very easy to take selfies, combined with social media, we set up for ourselves an arena that forces comparison to others. And we're seeing that it's particularly dangerous for young girls because our body image is directly related to self-confidence and self-esteem. And when we don't measure up to what we think is a standard we should achieve, it can actually send us into depression, anxiety, and suicidal thinking. Body image is a strong predictor for suicidal ideation. There's this fascinating study that was done where women, this was college-age women, were exposed to photographs of thin women at such a fast rate they weren't even conscious of the exposure. And yet when they were given a body image rating afterwards, before and after, they showed afterwards that because of the exposure that they weren't aware of, they were more dissatisfied with their appearance. Even when we know that the standards we see on social media are filtered, they're utterly changed from what the reality is, we still believe we should try to achieve those standards. So I want to suggest that we parents and grandparents become aware of who our daughters and sons, but specifically our daughters, who they're looking up to on social media, which influencers they're following, and what those appearance standards are that our children begin to believe they need to achieve, even if it's impossible.
I love that insight. It reminds me of the old Greek story about Narcissus, who kept looking at himself in the water. And here we are all these centuries later, and we're looking at ourselves all of the time, yet we don't have an identity based in Christ, based in the love that God has for us. And that is the reminder, though, Alice, you're right, speaking to parents, that we're not doing that, that we're not looking for our value from comparison. And what's that old saying? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, to be grateful for the bodies that God has given us, to take care of them, obviously, but also to be approved of what God would want from us. Great insight. You know, she wrote that book, Understanding and Loving Your Kids in a Screen-Saturated World, so she knows some stuff, don't you? and I've learned from it, even though my kids are older. But it's so powerful, the impact our phones have on us. They're good, and we got to be, having some control over them. We're going to take some calls on phones after we get back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. A lot of people are in bondage from past trauma that has created an emotional web that they don't understand, and it prevents them from being free. A person that loses their temper regularly is not emotionally free. Someone who has anxiety just to get in the car and leave the house is not emotionally free. And walking around with the shame from a childhood or even a bad relationship as an adult, that is not emotional freedom, and we can help you get there.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Intensive is Saturday, September 14th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie Mack Harris will present information on the power of our emotions, procrastination, guilt and shame, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I'm going to go to the calls in 1 second. We're going to talk with Sarah, but I wanted to ask you, Stacey, about Restore. You know, you've been leading the charge there, helping women find healing. What would you say to somebody who's experienced betrayal in their relationship and is thinking, I don't know if I need to go to an intensive? What would you say?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You will not regret it. I promise you won't regret it. Sometimes people don't, especially women, don't take care of themselves. They take care of everybody else above themselves. And I'll just say that we don't even realize what we need before we need it. Restore is a chance to get away, connect with women that get it, and create lasting relationships based upon safety, security, and commonality. I mean, nobody wants to be betrayed. Nobody wakes up and says, I want this. But all of a sudden you find that you're in good company with others and you don't have to keep your story to yourself. It's an amazing opportunity, and I really just don't ever heard anybody say they regret going. So come join us.
That's right.
For sure.
That's right. We're going to be in D.C. November 1st, and we've got the small group breakouts led by counselors. We are going to help you get to that Restore. So call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com/restore. We are going to talk with Sarah right now, who's calling us from Dallas, Texas, listens on KWRD. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for waiting. How can we help you today?
Hi. Hi. I've been married 20 years, and almost 20 years next month, and we have 3 kids, and everything was great the first 7. The last 13 have been very strained and have just gotten worse. So I'm trying to make it short. My husband had, he was going through some things, and at first he wanted help, and he'd reach out to me and I would try, but he'd actually push me away. He became unapproachable, and then it just gotten worse over the years, lately, the last couple of years. And he told me he had a mental breakdown. He stopped paying the bills and all kinds of stuff, and he just spiraled down. And I just stayed away from him because he just had these walls up, and I'm still taking care of kids. And so this past Friday, I found some things out on his phone. And in the past, he had told me he watched pornography. And to be honest, that was something I would trade that in right now for what we're dealing with now. He's talking on apps to people. And so that was Friday. And I talked to him Friday. And so he just started telling me he's done and he wants me to hate him and I should leave him and all this. And so he said, or, we'll just stay together till kids get old enough. And in my mind, I thought, well, I'll do that because it gives me time to pray and fight. And I said, well, you have to stop all that stuff. And he was just like, no. So anyway, Saturday, the next day, we had some kind of a breakthrough moment. When he's like that, the way we were talking Friday, it's like he's another person. And Saturday, he was softer. We were with kids, and we ended up hugging, and I was crying. And ever since then, we've been affectionate, and we haven't been like that in a long time. Well, even though he was saying it's over, you should leave me, all of a sudden he has opened up to me, and I've opened up to him, and I've just been clinging to him. Well, I still was I found out even worse stuff on his phone just the morning after, all this started, after we're being friendly with each other. I'm finding more stuff. I have found that he was trying to solicit services from someone. I found other apps, tons of women sending pornographic pictures and nasty messages between them, and him saying he wanted a one-night stand. I can't even.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And even after being, affectionate with me, I'm not talking about sex because that hasn't happened, but he's still telling somebody he wants to do that in just the most foul and perverse ways. It's very hard to read. My stomach has been in knots for days. So here's my question.
So Sarah, of course your stomach is in knots, and I'm glad you haven't had sex, because if he's soliciting prostitution or other women, you don't know that he's safe to have sex with, and I'm glad that hasn't happened, actually. One of the first phases when we're dealing with partners that have been betrayed, and this is what I do day in and day out, is we look for safety and stabilization. And I would say to you, if you were sitting in my office, Sarah, what do you need right now? And you're like, I don't know. I need to know what's going on. So you need truth. And there's a process. Your husband is likely a sex addict and needs help. And he needs great help. And there's a lot of help out there. That's what I do day in and day out. And there is help for it. But the truth is he needs somebody to help walk through his history with him, first to assess to see if he is a sex addict, if he had a problem with sex addiction. And you need help deciding what you need for safety, and you deciding what you need to feel okay with the relationship. And so I would recommend you getting some strong help for yourself. Feel free to call me, call New Life, and they'll get you in contact with me because I'm in Texas and I can help you. But what you're sensing inside is true and correct. When you say 1 minute he says, leave me, that's him going into victim mode. That's his shame talking. He doesn't know another way to be seen. Probably his greatest fear is, if you really knew me, you would reject me. If you really knew everything I was doing, you would reject me. But then all of a sudden now he's over here having some emotional intimacy with you. Likely, sex addiction is a intimacy disorder, and likely intimacy scares the heck out of him. It's probably what he wants and the greatest need that he has, but he's also pretty scared of it. And so you're dealing with a whole lot here, and I just want you to know there is hope and there are avenues for healing, but you need some truth. And you need some safety in the form of STD testing and getting some support for yourself, because I don't know, but I would guess that you don't want to just live like this for the rest of your lives. I would hope that you want better, and there is better out there and available.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wanting with him to have testing. I mean, because he had asked me, basically because I wasn't able to have intercourse, and he had asked me about it, and so I've just been kind of putting it off. But he doesn't know all the things I had found out, and I don't know how to confront him by myself. I'm really scared to do it by myself. I'm scared that if I let him know all this and I confront him, he's going to pull back this willingness that he's been has shown to be open to me again. And
right, sure. And that's data for you, Sarah, if he pulls back. And that's why you need to get support for yourself to be ready to deal with the consequences of if he pulls back, and be able to deal with, decide how important what you need for healing is for you, because I guarantee you this will do nothing but get worse. And I hate to be the bearer of that news, but it will do nothing but get worse. Like you said, you knew he was struggling years and years ago, but you just sort of let him be because he didn't really want to talk about it. And I told somebody today that was my one big regret early in marriage, is that I allowed things to just go under the table because they just get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Alice?
Sarah, you are right to be concerned that if you confront him, you probably will not get a good reaction. And it is a scary and realistic part of boundaries that when somebody does not want to change, they don't want to be confronted about changing. And so deciding where your line will be does set up the risk that he might not accept it. And this emotional closeness you have, it's false. And I think you know that. That's why you're calling us. It certainly feels good and it's giving you hope. But this would be a sick hope because he's not yet becoming a healthy man. And being this emotionally close to an unhealthy man is a setup for your heart to get torn out again and again as you discover more of what he is doing. And so you have to and get to decide which price you're ready to pay. And so you may have to build up strength for a little while before you confront him. You might not be ready for a confrontation. But I think internally you know a confrontation needs to happen. And so I want to give you some wording. And as you hear this from me, I want you to check how doable does this feel? And if it doesn't feel at all possible, then you need to build up more strength first. So you might go back to what he said, those two options he set up, to let him know, I care way too much about you, our family, our marriage, to take either of the options that you proposed. Instead, I choose to fight for us and to fight our marriage. And I hope you'll choose that with me. So I need to see in your behavior what you're going to choose. I need you to get help. And then you can point back to some of those things Stacey said. I need you to get in with a clinician. New Life can set you up with that. The STD testing, I need that. And Every Man's Battle coming up September 20th, Washington, D.C. I need you to attend that. And if you'll do those things, that shows me that you might be choosing our family. And then be prepared that, Sarah, he might not choose your family yet because people need to hit a bottom of pain and crisis before they're willing to give up their coping addiction. So he's already said, I'm not willing to give it up. So you have to be prepared that he will continue that stance. And it's just heartbreaking that a family needs to allow a person to experience more pain and loss and crisis with the hope that that gets him to his senses and helps him to then decide, okay, now I'm ready to get help, but his bottom may be low. And so we can help you with getting a sisterhood around you, getting a counselor, getting a coach with you so that you can practice these kinds of conversations and brace yourself, hoping he'll have a good response, but prepared that he might still choose his addiction for now.
Yeah, Sarah, we're so sorry that you're going through this. We are going to send you a copy of Dr. Sherry Keffer's book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. It will outline a lot of what both Alice and Stacey have talked about, as well as you hang on, we'll get you information about Every Man's Battle, Restore, as well as a therapist that is trained in this healing process.
And Becky and Sarah, we have a lot of men who go to Every Man's Battle and they still are unwilling and they still don't want to give up their addiction, but they go because their wife has demanded that they go. And then at Every Man's Battle, they experience a heart change. So even if he goes unwillingly, but at least he goes, there is so much hope of what God and the men at Every Man's Battle can do for miraculous breakthrough for your husband.
You know, the other part of this, no matter if you're Sarah or if you're listening and you're thinking, that is my story, don't get immobilized. You have to move forward. And that's what I think happens when the shock of that betrayal and what you're uncovering, it can get you stuck. And we want to help you get moving forward. And it's going to be painful, but you're not going to do it by yourself. You're going to have people around you. And we're grateful that you called today. We're going to go to Marie, who's calling us from Houston, Texas, listens on the podcast, and you can too. You can download the podcast wherever you get your podcast. But right now, we're talking to Marie. How can we help you today, Marie?
Hi, I love your show. I'm calling because I have a daughter who's 19. She's away at school, and she stays away, and we found out that she's in a domestic violence relationship. Yeah, and so, I mean, to the point to where other students have seen him verbally abusing her, assaulting her, and he was arrested. But because my daughter did not say everything that happened, they did not pursue charges because she said that they're still together. It was just a misunderstanding. And this happened this past summer, maybe in about June. I also found out recently that in the fall, because she was a freshman when she went in last year in the fall, that she failed all her classes, and she was on academic probation. In the springtime,
Marie, hold your thought. You hear the music. It is so hard to hear these things, isn't it? And I hear your heart. You're concerned. We're going to get to your question after this break, and we're glad that you called. This is a serious situation, and a lot of times we are surprised by things and not expecting to hear the news that you've been hearing. But we'll get you some help right after this break. You're listening to New Life Live.
Before coming to this weekend, I have been dealing with the guilt and shame of an abortion that I had 20 years ago. And we have 3 awesome kids. But every time I kept getting close to the Lord, kids saying to me, "You're the best mom." That voice in the back said, "You're a horrible mother. Look what you did to that child. You killed somebody. You don't deserve any of this, and you're not worthy." To help free me from my guilt and see that I would not make the same decision today, I would make a different decision, and I am a great mom, and God can use me.
This is Steve Arterburn, and this is the story of a new life. After 20 years of guilt and shame, she attended a workshop and now is free. You can be part of offering hope to others as you step out in faith by donating to New Life Ministries.
To make your tax-deductible gift, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit newlife.com and click Donate.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Marie, who's calling us from Houston, and she has a daughter who goes to school out of state or maybe miles away. Marie, I don't know if it's in state, but you've had repeated issues where she's on academic probation. She's had domestic violence and all of this kind of thing. How is first of all, what's your question? And I'm real curious about how you're finding out about this. You mentioned that other students were calling you, but is your daughter confiding in you at this point?
No, she's not. So what happened is that the students called campus safety, and then the campus safety was the one who kind of got involved and got the police involved. She's in North Carolina, so she's states away. Yep. Yeah. And so how I found out was God is so good. I did like a prayer challenge, and a couple of days after that, her phone accidentally called me, and I heard a conversation between her and the guy, her boyfriend, and he was trying to procreate with her, and it did not happen because she got her cycle, and I heard them talking. I couldn't hear everything, and so I I called her. She just denied like everything, and like I was delusional. Like I didn't. I know what I heard, but I didn't hear anything. She wasn't talking to anyone, and it's just a lot. But so I called her job because she was working on campus, not at the school, but the job was on campus, and someone kind of. Because I said, I got a disturbing phone call. I just want to make sure my daughter's okay. She was working at a daycare. And they said, well, was it a guy? Did you hear a guy's voice? And I said, I did. And without me going into detail, this person said, he's not supposed to be on campus. Oh. And it just opened up a whole can of worms. And my daughter's not confiding in me. And so she confided in some of the people at her job who then told me, and then at this time she was going to court. They were going to the court. I didn't know about this, and she just denied everything. She even denied about going to court. So this past weekend, I tried to kind of do an intervention, tried to get her to come home, tried to convince her I'm a single mom, and she just flat out refused. And she even called the police and said that I was trying to kidnap her. Oof. So that's how much entangled she is, in this relationship, in her lives. Like she just, and she is diagnosed with something. I believe she was recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
And Marie, boy, dealing with this as a single mom, and you have little power to make her do what you know would be good for her to do. Would you tell us, was she exposed to chaos growing up?
No, she was not, which is like, I'm so confused. Not that anything that I know of that happened to her. I do have a son, and they are 15 years apart. But when we grew up in the home, it was just, I was married before, and him and I divorced when she was about 7. But it wasn't any domestic violence, and it wasn't even any abuse. Like, I made sure that I wanted to have a peaceful home.
And so domestic violence was not something she experienced. Is her father still in contact with her? What's their relationship like?
Okay, so this is the weird thing. When I was trying to convince her to come home, she called her father crying because him and I, it was a previous relationship. So we were in college when she was conceived. And she called him, and he knows about what's going on because I communicated this to him about the domestic violence, her failing out of school. And so she called him, and I don't know what was said, but I believe he told her to call the police, like to say that I'm kidnapping her.
Oh, no, he undermined your attempt to get her home, possibly. Oh.
Yes, he did. Instead of him going, let me talk to mom.
So, Marie, it is a big tangled mess, and it feels pretty desperate. Stacey, how would you direct Marie? Like, what are some steps that she can take going forward?
Well, Marie, are you helping her financially?
So, because she was working at a job up there, no. But the first semester, I did sign like a Parent Plus loan. My father also signed like a personal loan. And so that happened like the first year. So this year, which is weird, we don't know how she's enrolled, but we have not signed anything. However, she is enrolled in school.
Okay. Well, you can. Okay. We got the music. When we come back, we're going to wrap this up. But Marie, it sounds like a situation that needs real clear definition. And sometimes in chaos, we can get caught up in all of the details of the chaos, and it causes us to lose our direction. And we got to figure out what can we do and how do we need to move forward. We're going to help you after this break. If you have any questions, you can call us 1-800-229-3000. We want to help you. We've been helping people for almost 37 years now. We can help you too. We'll be right back.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying, so my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We have been talking with Marie, whose daughter goes to school many states away. She's in trouble, and any help that Marie has tried to offer has been confounded. You know, in situations like this, like I said before the break, we can get all caught up in the struggle. I get wrapped around that axle and feel powerless in the meantime. I want to give Marie some direction going forward. Alice, let's start with you, and let's see how we can help her get forward on this.
Oh, Marie, just the powerlessness you must be feeling watching your daughter choose this path. And it's such an ugly reality that she gets to choose a destructive relationship. And there's little that you truly can do to intervene, but there's not nothing. And so, this sounds so strange, but accepting that she, as an adult, gets to pick this life. Moving to acceptance helps you to settle down, to then have some clarity about where does your power lie and what can you actually do. So it gets you working on the right things. But to accept this, you probably need to keep talking it through, be angry, be sad with some safe women in your life. And then the areas where I see you do have some power, I would try to strategize with men in her life who love her, who are decent men and trustworthy, asking that they would just pour into relationship with her. And possibly asking them to give advice and to talk about what she's going through, although I think she'll be very resistant to that. But if there's any relationship with her brother, her stepdad, I hear you don't trust her bio dad, I would ask them to come in and to love on her and to try to support her, to be those kind of voices in her life. I would consider a professional intervention, and we at New Life, we have some interventionists that we work with to strategize there too, how to directly address the situation, but to do so in a really structured way that has a better chance of success, while still accepting she gets to pick this and she gets to refuse the intervention. I would have you offer to pay for a therapist And I might take the angle of knowing that academically she has struggled, but that she wants to do well in school. She's still in school. She's going for it. That you want to offer that support since you're so far away. Would she be willing to let you pay for a therapist? And lastly, I want you to double down on your own recovery work so that you're doing all your own character work. You're processing the broken relationships that you and your family have suffered, and there are multiple, so that when your daughter is more willing to open up to you, that you have just a base of strength and clarity from which to help her.
Thank you, Alice. And, Marie, it's not easy. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our... No, that's not the one I want to send. I want to send...
You can send my book, Becky.
Okay. Yes, that's true. Understanding and Loving Your Child as a Single Parent. And I think that, gosh, I'm glad you're on, Stacey, because that's exactly what she needs. So, it's not like you're right in front of me, but yes. Oh gosh, Marie, we'll be praying too. But I love the fact that you are intentional in your love for her. But man, it is hard to accept, isn't it, Alice? Like you said, it's tough when people don't do what the... Go ahead, Stacey.
It's going to be tons of grief. That was the big word was in my mind. It's just tons of grieving. And that's who wants to do that? Nobody, but it's the biggest thing we need to do in order to accept a reality that we don't love or don't approve of.
I love that. When you support New Life, you're helping people like Marie and others who are listening and are in these difficult places. And, sometimes New Life Live is the only counseling that they ever receive. Of course, we want you to get into, good connections with counselors, but sometimes, this is the only connection to counseling that people will get. And so your giving makes a difference. It not only changes the person who listens, but it has the impact on generational, community, and of course the world. That's how I think big times. We're wanting to make a difference in the world, and so many people are struggling, and we want to offer that help. If you want to be part of the change of the world, you can join New Life, and you can go to newlife.com/donate. You could join Club New Life, which is our monthly giving program, our monthly giving family, who enables us to do all the things that we do, like our counseling network, like our radio program, our intensives, in the way that we can get the word out that the transformation is possible. There is hope for your future. And we're grateful for all of you who are giving already. We are going to go to a caller who submitted a question. Sometimes I know you're listening at different times. You're listening on the podcast and, you have a question, but you're not available during the time that we're recording. Or you can't call at that time. But we got a question coming in from Beth in Fairfax, Virginia. She listens on WAVA. Her question is, do you have any tips on how to be anxious for nothing after many losses and traumatic events in her family? Over the past 6 months, I've had some really hard events. My husband's stepdad passed away, and my mom passed away in October. My 57-year-old husband had a stroke at the end of January this year and was in inpatient rehab until the end of February. Our 16-year-old daughter was out riding bikes with him when he had a stroke, so it was traumatic for her too. And then 2 weeks after he came home, his sister unexpectedly passed away. And she was her support during this time. So lots of trauma and grief. And although my husband is healing, he can't drive. And Beth has her own health issues. My doctor told me either I needed to go on antidepressants or see a psychiatrist. I haven't had time to deal with all the trauma and grief. And now I have anxiety and fear and need some godly counsel. What are the tips that we can help her with as far as being anxious for nothing? Alice?
Well, that's a verse that gets me too, Beth, because I am prone to anxiety. And so by nature, anxiety is my default. And I have not been through nearly the losses you have in a short amount of time. And so what the Bible has to say about anxiety, it's such a high standard. And I think for us in this broken world, anxiety is attention to be managed We can get a lot of healing, but this world just continues to give us trials and tribulations that can keep us in an anxious state. And there are 3 things that help us to continue to work through our anxiety: tears, anger, and asking for help. Tears are part of the lament of these things your family has suffered. And when we allow tears to flow, it actually does a cleanup on some of the stress hormones in our body. And when we allow tears to flow and we're in the presence of a loving, caring person, we get understanding. That calms anxiety and it helps us to access some peace. Anger is facing the frustrating, unfair reality of what your family has been through and allowing anger at the circumstances, even at God, at yourself, and doing that again in conversation with somebody who is trustworthy decreases anxiety. And then as your husband is losing some of his physical capacity and you've had to pick up a lot of responsibility, becoming willing to ask for help from your family, from your community, so that you're not the one shouldering the entirety of the burden. But that's a tough call when you might be a very self-sufficient person who's been able to do most of it yourself.
That's good. Stacey, what would you add?
I would say that with all of these health issues and even death, we start to come to what we call an existential crisis. Like, how could all of these things happen, and who am I in the world, and how could a good God let all of these things happen and happen all at once? And so I think that your unprocessed trauma and grief is coming out as anxiety, and the answer is to take care of the caregiver. And in so many ways, you know, you're going to have to take on the responsibility for driving and taking care of the home and your husband in some ways. And so taking care of yourself, you know, I haven't had time to do that. Well, there never is time. When you're taking care of older adults, older parents, there never is time. You have to take the time. I was a caregiver for my 99-year-old mother for 5 years, and I was able to do that because I took time for myself, even when it didn't feel like it. And the caregiver would say, she's so sad when you're gone, and she doesn't like it when you're gone. And I was like, I know, and bye. See ya, because I had to take care of me. And as a result, I did it in a way that was, I had the bandwidth to go for 5 years, and it was a beautiful opportunity because I was taking care of myself. So taking care of yourself, taking the time to get the help you need, to get away. You don't have to feel guilty about doing that. It's an important thing. You can be a better caregiver when you do that for yourself.
That's right. Putting that oxygen mask on first before helping others is the rule to follow. You know, if you're like Beth and you can't call when we record, you can go to newlife.com/radio, and there's directions there on how you could submit your question. We give you different options. But boy, I tell you, self-care is a challenge because we get all caught up in everything else that has to be done. But we really do need to put that oxygen mask on first. And sometimes, and I've heard this on planes every time I'm on there, it doesn't look like the oxygen is flowing, but it is. And so we just need to take the step to do that. We're going to be right back after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I want to give a shout out to our Emotional Freedom Online Intensive. It's going to be September 14th, and early bird pricing ends today, August 30th. But listen, it's the easiest way for you to do some in-depth work to get started, to get unstuck from the places that want to keep you stuck. And if you go to newlife.com/emotional freedom, you can watch a deep dive conversation that Chris and I had about all things emotional freedom. So, it could give you some insight into whether this is how you need to spend a day in the comfort of your own home and doing, what we always say, those intensives can be like 6 months worth of therapy. And we're going to have the breakout groups, and we'll be facilitating those with a counselor, and we really want you to get unstuck. And so when we're talking about emotional freedom, we want you to get unstuck. So you think about the places that you might be stuck in, whether it's grief or depression or anxiety or guilt or shame. There's all kinds of places that we can get stuck, but we want you to have a transformative life that God has provided a way through counseling and great teaching, and you can join us there at Emotional Freedom. It's always fun to serve together, and Stacey and I have been doing that for many years at Restore. And I know I had you give a shout out earlier on the program, but one of the challenges that we have, and we hear this all the time, is that when women show up at Restore, they're shocked at how many others need the help, but they're so grateful at the end of those couple of days. And so, Stacey, just one line before we go to our last call. What would you say to somebody who's hesitant but is interested?
I would say make a bold move. Do something different than what you always do, and come. It's worth it. You're worth it.
I love that. And give us a call and we'll get you there. We're going to go to our last caller, and it's Lynn. She's calling us from Orlando, and she listens to us on the internet. Hello, Lynn. We only have a few minutes left in the show, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask your question.
Okay. I've never done this before. I'll try my best here. My youngest son is a functional alcoholic, is smoking pot on a daily basis. And I think this is due to the fact that my husband was diagnosed with dementia and Parkinson, and we had watched him deteriorate. He passed away in January. And when we got the diagnosis of dementia and Parkinson's, that's when my oldest son got diagnosed with bipolar, and he felt like he lost his heroes, he lost his life, and he's gone to this inappropriate behavior. He's never been really like this. I don't know if he drank alcohol a lot, but I've never seen him. I mean, I'm sure he tried pot in his days, but I don't know what else to do. I've reached out. I'm in constant prayer. I don't know what else to do, so I'm looking for wisdom and guidance to help me.
Lynn, are they living with you?
They are right now. He lost his job also.
Okay.
And he's in
and that's just a lot going on. Stacey, let's start with you. How can we help Lynn in this situation?
Well, I think it's important. The serenity prayer is really helpful. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And with them living with you, you have choices, and you have leverage when you have choices. I always think paying for counseling and help is a good thing. But you also can say what you're willing to deal with in your home and what you're not willing to deal with in your home. You say he's functioning, so that's good. But you can also say what you will allow to be present. If you'll allow him to smoke weed in your house or not, which I hope you wouldn't, and or drink in your home. There are places like that you have leverage. I'm willing to let you stay here if you get help. If he's functioning, sometimes that hitting the bottom doesn't happen fast enough, and so it's kind of like letting go and letting him be, like Becky was saying earlier and Alice was saying earlier. It sounds horrible to say, there are just some things I can't control, and if he chooses to do that with his life, it's what it is, but you can continue to speak truth into his life. I wasn't clear whether he was the bipolar one or the other son was, but you would hope that the healthy thing to do is to stay in treatment and to continue to work on coping skills with a therapist. And so I would say always being willing to help with therapy and make that process conducive for them would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. That's good, Alice.
Lynn, what a heavy loss that your husband passed away and that he suffered, and you all suffered watching his deterioration before his death. And I think it's wise that you point to that as a likely reason that your son is coping in this way. And yet we all know it's coping that is not serving him in the long run, even though it probably is numbing the pain in the short run. And so I want you to consider bringing the family together to acknowledge with both of your sons how much you're all hurting with Dad's illness and his passing. And then you might name an unhealthy way that you have coped at some time in your life, whether it was avoidance or you went to food, you escaped digitally into your screen, something that you did that helped temporarily but didn't help in the long run, because that admission can lower defensiveness a little bit. And then I'd have you suggest to your boys, I want to get us into some family therapy because we're all struggling with how Dad passed away. And whether or not your boys agree to go with you, which I hope they will, I want you to make sure you go so that you, Lynn, are modeling the better way to cope with such an awful loss. And your sons may be affected by the modeling in addition to the boundaries that Stacey is telling you to set. If you're not yet attending Al-Anon, it's a system of family members whose family is struggling with addiction. And it teaches you all the intricate ways that you can use boundaries, use your love and concern. And it teaches you the kind of treatments that are available for your son and what you should expect from him so that can strengthen you to follow through with what we're suggesting.
Lynn, it can feel overwhelming, but I think these are great next steps. Does it sound like any of these are doable for you?
For me, Lynn?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I've done most everything that everybody's already told me. In fact, the Serenity Prayer was my mom's favorite. I'm in constant prayer 24/7. I have lots of other people praying for me as well. I have set boundaries in the house, like this is what I will allow and won't allow. I speak the truth. I've recommended about how hard this is for all of us going through the loss of Dad, and that it would be great if we could get treatment.
Yeah. Do you have a counselor that you work with personally, Lynn?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll get you connected with somebody who can not only work with you, but I also think the family counseling idea is a great idea. You've been through a lot. And the loss of a husband is a significant loss. Mm-hmm. And a grief recovery group would be very good. We have life recovery groups that meet online, but also in person, and we can get you connected with some of those resources. And I'm also I'm gonna send you the grief recovery workbook for just to get you on your way to that healing. But man, it's a lot. Lynn, we'll be praying for you. We're so grateful. Hold on, and we'll get you connected with the help that will get you forward. We've only got about a minute left, and Stacey, I want you to speak into the hearts of the men who need to go to every man's battle.
Mm-hmm. you probably are feeling conflicted. There's part of you that is scared to give up your behaviors, and there's part of you that doesn't like those behaviors and wants to stop them. But I want to speak to the part of you that wants help and encourage you that there is a better path and a better way for you. And there's a new way to cope that doesn't rely on things that make you feel shamed. So come and join with other men and do something bold, do something different, and take the first step to go to every man's battle. It'll be worth it.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.